right, so you wanted to really get into Nietzsche on nihilism.
Oh, yeah.
And wow.
Dive right in.
We really have a fascinating stack of his writings to explore for this deep dive.
It's going to be a journey.
Get ready for some seriously mind-bending ideas.
Yeah, definitely.
Are you ready to unpack this with me?
Let's do it. I think you'll find his ideas are surprisingly relevant even today.
You know, I'm definitely intrigued.
Yeah.
Especially by this whole idea of nihilism.
Right.
What exactly did Nietzsche mean by that anyway?
Well, he didn't really offer a simple, dictionary definition.
Yeah.
For Nietzsche, nihilism was more of a lived experience,
Okay.
a cultural symptom, even a potential catalyst for change.
Okay.
He talked about the highest values devaluating themselves.
Oh.
Like the very foundations of meaning crumble away.
So it's not just about feeling down or hopeless.
Yeah, you gotta...
It's more like the whole system of meaning is losing its grip.
Exactly, and he pointed out that this can manifest in active and passive forms.
Oh.
Imagine active nihilism as this destructive force,
Okay.
tearing down the old to clear the ground for new values.
I like that.
Think of revolutionaries, those who reject societal norms.
Right. Those who want to shake things up.
Exactly.
Okay, that makes sense. So then what's passive nihilism then?
Passive nihilism is more like resignation.
Huh.
A withdrawal from action.
Okay.
Nietzsche even compares it to a kind of Buddhist path of non-action.
Interesting.
But not in a peaceful, meditative way.
Right.
It's more about losing the will to engage with life's challenges.
But didn't Nietzsche admire Buddhism?
Hmm.
I remember reading somewhere that he thought Buddhism was a philosophy for strong people.
He did find Buddhism intriguing.
Okay.
But he also saw it as a potential path to a kind of weary resignation. He saw parallels between Buddhism and the decline of cultures. Once people understand the conditions for morality's development, they may no longer desire it.
Wow.
It's fascinating to see how he grapples with these different ways of thinking.
That's really making me think.
Yeah.
It connects to something else I found puzzling.
Okay.
Nietzsche's famous statement, "There are no facts, only interpretations."
Oh, yeah. A big one.
Is he saying that reality is just like whatever we make it?
He's challenging us to see that our perceptions shape our reality.
Okay.
It's not about denying objective truth,
Right?
but recognizing that our understanding is always filtered through our individual lenses, our
Right.
values, our experiences.
Right.
And he argues that traditional interpretations, especially those rooted in Christian morality, have actually contributed to this sense of nihilism.
He actually said, the world that we are a little bit tolerable is false, meaning it is no fact, but a poetic invention and the rounding off from a small sum of observations. It's like he's saying we've built this comfortable world on shaky ground.
Exactly. And that shaky ground for Nietzsche was rooted in the decline of those highest values. So he's not just offering a philosophical theory, he's diagnosing a cultural condition.
So if our interpretations are so powerful,
Right.
how do we create interpretations that lead to a flourishing life,
Yeah.
not nihilism?
That's where his concept of the will to power comes in.
Okay.
He described it as this driving force behind all life.
Right.
Not just about brute strength,
Okay.
but more about growth, self-actualization, even self-overcoming. It's tied to our values, our morality,
Yeah.
and how we strive individually and collectively.
So maybe instead of will to power, we could think of it as a will to thrive,
Yeah.
a kind of inner drive to create, to expand, to become more.
That's a great way to put it. Think of the desire for freedom, the
Yeah.
pursuit of knowledge, even acts of self-sacrifice.
Right.
These can all be expressions of this will to power directed in different ways.
Okay, that's starting to click for me. But if this will to thrive is so natural, why are we in this nihilistic mess in the first place?
Yeah.
Doesn't that go against our nature?
Well, Nietzsche believed this will to thrive can be suppressed,
Okay.
distorted, even turned against itself. And that's where his critique of traditional morality comes, and particularly Christian morality.
Okay.
He saw it as a kind of herd mentality
Okay.
that emphasizes weakness, humility, and self-denial.
So he's saying that traditional morality, with its focus on being good and selfless, can actually hold us back from reaching our full potential.
Yes, he felt it stifles individual strength and leads to a devaluation of life itself.
Wow.
Remember, he's writing in a time when Darwin's ideas are shaking up traditional beliefs about humanity's place in the universe.
Right. So it's like the old narratives are falling apart and people are struggling to find new meaning in a world that suddenly feels a lot less certain.
Yeah.
And this leads to what he calls European nihilism.
Precisely, he saw European nihilism as a symptom of the decline of traditional values and the rise of a scientific worldview.
Right.
That, at the time, seemed to leave no room for meaning or purpose.
Yeah.
It's like the rug was pulled out from under society's feet,
Yeah.
and people were left feeling adrift.
So how does Nietzsche suggest we move forward from here? How do we overcome this sense of nihilism and create new values in a world that feels increasingly uncertain?
That's what we'll explore in the next part of our deep dive.
Oh boy.
Trust me, things are about to get even more interesting.
Okay, I can't wait.
Yeah. Welcome back.
Okay, so
You know, when Nietzsche talks about overcoming nihilism,
Right.
he doesn't mean just slapping on a happy face and pretending everything's fine.
right, that's what I'm grappling with. Like, how do we actually create new values?
Yeah.
It sounds almost superhuman.
It does, and that's where his concept of the Übermensch comes in, often translated as Superman,
Right.
Overman, but not the comic book.
Right, of course.
It's an ideal,
Okay.
a human being who transcends those conventional ideas of good and evil,
Mhm.
creating their own values.
Okay, so not someone with superpowers, but someone who's like super evolved, morally speaking.
Yeah.
But isn't there a danger in that?
Oh, yeah.
What's to stop this Übermensch from becoming a tyrant if they're above the rules?
Right. Well, the Übermensch isn't motivated by the same things as someone seeking power over others.
Okay,
It's not about domination, but self-mastery and creative expression.
I see.
Imagine embracing life's difficulties,
Yeah,
affirming that will to power we talked about,
right.
and shaping your own destiny, not just letting it happen to you.
So it's like they're playing a different game entirely.
Yeah.
Not just trying to win at the old one.
Exactly.
But how do you even become this Übermensch?
Right.
Is it about reaching some level of genius or power?
It's more about a way of being an attitude towards life.
Yeah.
Nietzsche stresses self-overcoming, pushing your own boundaries,
Right.
and really embracing that will to power as fuel for creation, not destruction.
So it's not a destination, but a journey. You don't just arrive at Übermensch status, you're constantly becoming it.
Exactly. It's continuous growth, self-discovery, pushing what it means to be human further.
Wow.
Nietzsche wouldn't want us to just sit back and admire his ideas. He'd want us to use them to transform ourselves.
That's really thought-provoking.
Yeah.
But if we're all striving for this Übermensch ideal,
Right.
doesn't that create a new kind of hierarchy?
Oh.
Some people further along the path than others?
Well, Nietzsche did believe in a natural hierarchy. He saw that some individuals are simply more capable, driven, creative,
Right.
but he wasn't advocating for oppression.
Okay.
The Übermensch for him inspires and elevates others, not exploits them.
So not a dictator,
No.
but more like an artist who reveals what's possible.
Yeah.
Who makes you want to create too.
That's a great way to see it.
Yeah.
A kind of leadership that pushes human potential,
Right.
and by doing so inspires others to reach for their own.
Well, that makes this whole Übermensch thing a lot less intimidating
Right.
and a lot more appealing,
Yeah,
especially in a world that often feels stuck in old ways of doing things.
exactly. And this is where it ties back to the idea of eternal recurrence.
Okay.
If we thought our lives would repeat endlessly, wouldn't we want to live them as fully, powerfully, and meaningfully as possible?
Wow. Okay, that's a huge thought.
Yeah.
I'm starting to see how all these pieces fit together.
Yeah.
Nihilism, the will to power, the Übermensch eternal return.
Yeah.
It's a whole different way of looking at existence.
That's one of the things that makes Nietzsche so fascinating.
Definitely.
He isn't content with just criticizing what's wrong. He offers a completely different perspective on the world and our role in it.
It's definitely a lot to digest,
Yeah.
but there's also a real sense of liberation in it, right?
Mhm.
To think we have this power to shape our own values, our destinies.
Right.
It's like we're not just pawns in some predetermined game.
That's the potential Nietzsche saw in facing nihilism head on.
Okay.
It's not just this negative void, but a chance to create meaning where it seems to be missing.
So where does Christianity fit into all of this?
Right.
Nietzsche was very critical of it, wasn't he?
He saw Christianity and traditional morality in general
Yeah.
as a form of life denial. He thought it emphasized weakness, humility, and focusing on the afterlife,
Okay.
at the expense of embracing this life fully.
It's like he's saying Christianity is nihilistic in its own way by devaluing earthly existence.
Yes. And for Nietzsche, this devaluation was a symptom of declining will to power,
Right.
turning away from the vibrancy and potential of life in this world.
So like,
It's as if we've traded in our earthly desires
Yeah.
for a promise of something better after we die.
okay.
But in doing so, we've diminished life itself.
He actually uses the term pagan in contrast to the Christian worldview. What did he mean by that?
Right.
Did he want us to, like, start worshiping Greek gods again?
Not literally by pagan. He's referring to a more primal, life-affirming perspective.
Okay.
One that embraces the natural world and the fullness of human experience,
Right.
including its darker, more chaotic aspects. He sees Christianity as an attempt to tame and control these aspects of ourselves,
Again.
rather than accept them as part of who we are.
So it's more about reclaiming a kind of wildness, an instinctual way of being, rather than adhering to a strict moral code.
That's a good way to think about it. He felt that Western civilization, in embracing Christianity, had lost touch with something essential, something the ancient Greeks, especially the pre-Socratic philosophers, understood.
So was Nietzsche advocating for the abolition of Christianity altogether? That seems a bit extreme.
He didn't necessarily want to abolish it.
Okay.
He acknowledged its historical importance and influence on Western culture,
Right.
but he felt it was time to move beyond it.
Okay.
To create new values that affirmed life in all its complexity and contradictions without relying on a prepackaged moral system.
I can see how that could be both exhilarating and terrifying.
Yeah.
It's like he's asking us to step outside the comfort zone of our beliefs and face the world on our own terms.
And that's what's so challenging and exciting about Nietzsche's philosophy.
Yeah.
It's not about finding easy answers or following a set path. It's about embarking on a journey of self-discovery, creating your own values, and embracing life in all its messy glory.
This is definitely making me rethink a lot of things.
Yeah.
But what does that journey actually look like?
Right.
How do we put these ideas into practice?
That's a great question, and it's something we'll explore further in the next part of our deep dive.
Okay.
Stay tuned, because we're about to get even more practical.
All right, I can't wait. Welcome back for the final part of our deep dive into Nietzsche on nihilism.
Right.
We've covered a lot of ground.
Yeah, we have.
From the will to power
All right.
to the Übermensch.
It's been a journey.
Now I'm really curious to hear how all of this translates into a practical approach to life.
Yeah, that's the real challenge, right?
Exactly. It's one thing to understand Nietzsche's ideas,
Right.
but how do we actually live these concepts?
Yeah.
We've deconstructed so many traditional beliefs and values. What do we put in their place?
Well, Nietzsche emphasized self-creation, becoming the artist of your own life. It's about taking that will to power
Right.
and directing it inward, not for dominating others,
Right.
but for growth, self-mastery, and creative expression.
So it's less about forcing our will on the world
Yeah.
and more about shaping ourselves, becoming the best versions of ourselves.
That's a great way to put it. It's about constantly questioning, challenging our assumptions, and pushing beyond those comfortable limits.
Okay.
Nietzsche embraced the fluid and uncertain nature of existence,
Yeah.
encouraging us to do the same.
That's a big shift from the fixed, rule-bound world of traditional morality.
It is.
It almost feels like Nietzsche's asking us to dance with chaos.
He definitely wouldn't shy away from that image.
Yeah.
He saw traditional morality as a hindrance to human potential,
Okay.
a system that often stifled individual creativity and led to a kind of spiritual stagnation. Remember that quote about ideals?
Yes. He said, all the ideals are dangerous because they lower and stigmatize what is real. All are poisons, but indispensable as a provisional remedy. It's like he's saying, we need to be wary of clinging too tightly to any belief system, even those that seem beneficial on the surface.
Absolutely. He saw those ideals as temporary crutches.
Right.
Helpful at one stage, but ultimately limiting.
So if we're letting go of those old ideals,
Right.
what guides our actions? Without a clear set of rules, how do we even know what's right or wrong?
Well, Nietzsche doesn't offer a neat list of commandments.
Right.
Instead, he encourages you to develop your own internal compass, one based on a deep understanding of yourself and the world around you.
So it's about cultivating an inner strength and wisdom,
Yeah.
but how do we actually do that?
Yeah.
That sounds pretty abstract.
Nietzsche believed self-knowledge was paramount. He encourages you to explore your motivations, desires, strengths, and weaknesses honestly and without judgment.
Okay.
It's about facing yourself, even the parts you might want to hide.
He talked about spiritual vivisection, right? It's
Yeah.
a kind of ruthless self-examination that sounds a bit intense.
It does, but he saw honesty as absolutely vital for growth. It's about peeling back those layers of pretense and self-deception
Right.
to reveal the true self underneath. He believes that only by truly knowing ourselves can we start to live authentically and create values that resonate with who we are at our core.
This whole process of self-creation, of becoming the artist of your own life, Is it ever finished, or is it something we're always working on?
For Nietzsche, it's an ongoing journey. He didn't believe in fixed identities
Right.
or ultimate destinations. It's about constant growth, becoming, and overcoming.
It really is like a dance, a constant interplay between pushing forward and letting go. And isn't this idea of continuous becoming at the heart of the Übermensch concept?
You got it. The Übermensch, often translated as Superman, is one of Nietzsche's most misunderstood ideas.
Yeah.
It's not about physical prowess or political dominance,
No.
but about a way of being, an attitude toward life. It's about embracing the will to power as a force for creation, shaping your own destiny and forging new values.
It's a powerful image.
Yeah.
But is everyone capable of becoming this Übermensch? Or is it only for a select few?
Nietzsche believed that potential resides within all of us, but it takes courage, honesty, and a willingness to break free from the confines of conventional morality. It's a challenging path, but also an incredibly inspiring one.
And it feels incredibly relevant today.
Oh, yeah.
We're living in a time of rapid change where old certainties are dissolving.
Right.
It's like we're being asked to create new ways of being in the world.
Exactly. And Nietzsche's ideas offer a roadmap for navigating these uncharted waters. He encourages us to embrace the uncertainty and chaos of our times, to become artists of our own lives, creators of new values, the Übermensch of our own destinies.
That's a powerful image to leave us with. It feels like Nietzsche is giving us permission to break free from the constraints of the past and create a future that is more authentic, vibrant, and truly alive. So, if there are no facts, only interpretations, what does that mean for you? What kind of world do you want to create with your interpretations? Any final thoughts for our listener to ponder as we wrap up this deep dive?
Perhaps Nietzsche's challenge isn't to find a definitive answer to nihilism, but to use his insights as a springboard for creating your own meaning and values in a world without preordained truths.
What a great note to end on. Thank you for joining us on this deep dive into Nietzsche. Until next time, keep questioning, keep creating, and keep embracing